Boxing truth here. I had to talk about the fight this Saturday between Keith Thurman and Shawn Porter, as it's pretty much the best card PBC has presented to the boxing public since they debuted it last year. It's a fight that's worth watching. There's been a long build up to the fight. Unfortunately, neither guy is coming into the fight with any momentum. Both guys coming off career high layoffs, the longest layoffs of his career. It's been over a year since Shawn Porter fought, and it's been over 11 months, close to a year, since Keith Thurman's fought. So, not the best scenario for two top 10 welterweights to be fighting each other, coming off this much inactivity, as prolonged negotiations, injuries have delayed this bout. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this fight and its impact in the welterweight division. Also, I wanted to make a prediction on the fight for this Saturday and why I think it's going to go down, what's going to happen, and how people regard it as a 50-50 fight. And you can argue that, yeah, sure. But here's the debate, and it has to do with the winner of this fight. Now, Keith Thurman is saying that by him defeating Shawn Porter, it makes him the king dog of the welterweight division. But nah, neither guy, whoever wins this fight, will be the king dog of the welterweight division, that Thurman likes to put it. Nah, they're not the best welterweight in the world. That's how the PBC is branding it. That's how, fans of both fighters are amping this fight up. Oh, the winner of this fight is going to be the king of the division. Nah, man. You're not the king of the division. You still have a lot to prove. Both of you guys are around the same age, and you've done jack shit over the past year coming into this fight. You haven't really done much ever since pretty much Golden Boy left. Golden Boy and Heyman parted ways. When Golden Boy was part of Team Heyman, these guys were, especially Thurman, he was having momentum. He was putting good fights that made him look good, and his career has stalled since he's not fighting that much, twice a year, or not putting the type of performance he's had before. And Shawn Porter has also been inactive, and he's not coming off good performance either. I mean, he had a sloppy win against Broner, a fight he clearly won, but not a fight he looked particularly good in. It just wasn't an entertaining bout. It wasn't really that good of a win. He even got dropped in the fight. And as for Keith Thurman, he's saying he's going to be the king dog since he senses a knockout in a fight against Shawn Porter this Saturday. But nah, you're just beating Kell Brook's leftovers. Even if you do knock him out, you would have to knock him out impressively, like 85 seconds or just a dominant type of performance. But even then, even if Keith Thurman were to do that, I still wouldn't rate him as a number one welterweight. It will still be like a debate. It'll probably be tied between Kell Brook and Keith Thurman. But Kell Brook's win is just more impressive because Kell Brook's win over Porter will still be more impressive because he was the road warrior in that fight. He came in on the road on Shawn Porter's home soil, on pretty much on his bill, where he was just the opponent, the mandatory challenger. And he was fighting a Shawn Porter who was at the peak of his career at that time, was the defending champion, was coming off good performances, even a knockout performance that pretty much got the boxing world talking about him, perhaps even instilling fear in some other fighters based on what he looked against Malignaggi and against Devon Alexander. And for Brook to just come in there on the road, cleanly outbox him and take away his strap, that was impressive. And Shawn was undefeated at the time, was at the peak of his career. But now he's not at the peak of his career. He's coming off 12 months of inactivity, coming off a sloppy win against Broner in a fight he was dropped in. And now he's heading into a fight with Keith Thurman as a challenger, no longer a champion, with one L on his record. He's not at the peak of his career right now. He's not coming in with any momentum going into this fight. So, all you could do is hope for a good fight, since it's been so longly awaited because of all the bullshit involved. All you can hope for is for a good, entertaining fight. But it's possible it might not turn out that way, considering Porter's style. He has a hard time closing the distance. He's not the most accurate puncher. He smothers his shots, which can make for some ugly fights involving Shawn Porter, as that was the case in his fight against Adrian Broner. But for this fight, Shawn Porter is going to have a difficult time in closing the distance against Keith Thurman. Thurman's going to be on his toes. I've been watch some footage from training. He's going to be on his toes in this fight. He's going to box. He's going to move. He has legs. He likes to move around the ring. He's been more of a mover these days. He's not really living up to his trademark phrases, knockouts for life, one-time knockouts. Nah, Keith Thurman don't have that one-time knockout power. It's not living up to its. He's not living up to his trademark sayings. You don't got that one-time power. Triple G got that one-time power, but Keith Thurman hasn't been showing no one-time power even against gatekeepers. It's really, the more accurate saying is multiple times. He needs multiple times, multiple big power shots to even put a dent in gatekeepers. He hasn't been showing that any world-class type power as he's raised his level of opposition. Couldn't put a dent against Collazo. Never even buzzed him. Never even affected him with his power. And he landed some big shots. In a fight he almost got knocked out in. Almost got KO'd by a body shot. But for this fight, the styles favors Thurman. Thurman's the better athlete. He's better on his feet. He's taller. He's gonna be on the outside, and he's gonna make Shawn Porter try to close the distance. And that's Shawn Porter's weakness. He has trouble finding the right range for his punches. He ends up smothering himself. That's what happened to him against Kell Brook. Couldn't find the right range to land any effective shots. And I see the same thing against Keith Thurman. I see Keith Thurman keeping Shawn on the end of his punches, stay on the outside, landing good body shots. Also some counters, make Porter walk into something. And Porter's susceptible to left hooks upstairs. So that could be Keith's money punch for this fight, the left hook, especially on the fly, on the moves, off angles. I see Keith winning this fight. I'm not sure if he can stop Shawn Porter. Keith just hasn't been showing that type of one-time power that he's been promising the fans. He hasn't delivered any great performances in quite some time. It looked like he's plateaued. I mean, he has some moments against Guerrero, but took some damage in the fight. Ended up being a much tougher than expected fight. Looked like shit against Bundu. Just ran for 12 rounds in an uninspiring performance. Had moments against Collazo, but he couldn't hurt Collazo with his power. His power had no effect. So I'm not sure if Keith Thurman will get the stoppage, but I believe he'll get the victory. There's a lot of people picking Shawn Porter simply because of what's been going on in between camps for this fight. The injury for the Thurmans. He's stating that he had to alter his camp a little bit because of the neck injury he suffered from the crash. That he had to push back some things like sparring, but I still got Keith Thurman in this fight. I think he'll outbox Porter, keep him on the outside, land the bigger shots, the cleaner shots, look like the more flashier fighter, the more athletic fighter. I got Keith by a clear decision. I think Porter will make the distance. He'll make it uh he'll make it rough, physical, but he just doesn't have a. He's gonna have a hard time closing the distance. He's got to improve on being able to get inside on taller opponents who try to keep him on the outside, and I don't see Shawn Porter has improved that at all. He couldn't even have couldn't have many great moments against Broner. I mean, he pretty much just grinded him down as Broner kept fouling and doing all this bullshit. But it was surprising that Porter couldn't land many significant blows against Broner, considering Broner was very flat-footed for that fight. Just stayed in the pocket, and you saw a lot of mauling and grabbing and holding in that fight. And against Keith, it's going to be a totally different style matchup. Keith's going to be on his toes. He's going to be moving around. He's going to be punching off angles. He's going to be using every inch of that square circle. It's just going to make life difficult for Shawn Porter, and I see it a very extremely difficult night for Shawn Porter to land any significant clean punches in the fight, as he's going to get constantly beat to the punch. But whatever happens, I just hope for a good fight for these two. I know it sucks coming off this long layoff. It could affect the performance in the fight. No momentum going into it. Hopefully there's a plan for the winner of this fight to unify against the other Heyman welterweights out there, Danny Garcia especially. And hopefully it'll be a good fight, as this is pretty much PBC's best show to date. And I expect a clear win for Keith one-time Thurman, but I'm hoping for an explosive, impressive performance and even a knockout. But the safer bet is Keith Thurman by decision. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.